Okay, so welcome to the SPSQC interview, ladies, and we're gonna go through about 6 questions and then banter a little bit. Basically, this interview process is to let audiences around the world know who you are. They're gonna hear you play, but you're not gonna get to talk much. So this is the other side of who the Marian String Quartet is. So that's my goal, is to try to get as much out of you in the next 10 or 15 minutes here, so we can have some fun at the event. Okay. All right. So first question: how and when did your quartet come together?
We started playing in this configuration with the 4 of us this past September, but the 3 of us played together last year as well in the spring semester prior in a quartet together. And then over the summer, we asked Emma to join us this year. So this is the first year that we've all 4 of us played together.
Excellent. Where does your name come from and what's the meaning of it?
It was pretty immediate that we wanted to name the group in honor of someone, in honor of a figure. So we chose Marian Anderson, the famous American contralto. She was a figurehead in the American Civil Rights Movement. She literally used her voice for change. I mean, she was, one of the most famous sopranos she even had great European fame as well. Mm-hmm. And actually, began to encounter a lot of discrimination when she tried to perform in the United States. But she became the first African-American woman to perform at the Met. And she also was personally invited to perform at the Washington Monument by Eleanor Roosevelt. So, we were just, inspired by her as a figure and what she was able to do with her music. It inspires some real political change. So we thought that was a really inspiring person to name ourselves after.
Quartet of Change here. This is wonderful, ladies. Very good choice. Who do you coach with?
So we coach with Natasha Brodsky, as well as Joseph Lynn and Ronald Copes.
Right. Was it my misunderstanding that Roger Tapping was in that mix?
Yes.
He is. Yes.
We, not all 4 of us, we never met with him this school year, but in the past, our group worked with him a lot last year, and as did Emma with another group. And we think about Roger a lot when we sit down together, and all the things that he taught us about how powerful chamber music is, how beautiful it is to make music with the same 4 people, and how well you get to know each other personally, musically, and just how much he truly loved teaching and working with us. And Emma always says that he used to say every time he heard us play that it was a pleasure to listen to us, and we just always keep that with us and think about him.
Yeah, every single coaching, it was always the first thing out of his mouth. He never would just jump straight into comments. He would always just say, "It is an absolute pleasure to hear you play." And I mean, that is just, that sort of effect as a coach really will stick with you. I mean, obviously, because I was coached by you for many years and, have taken those lessons with me on until now. So we never coached with him in this formation, but we coached with him many times, and we talk about him in rehearsal constantly. So he is very much a mentor to this group. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. You should know that when this competition got started in 2006, and I called around the country for jury members, he was on that list. He was the first person to say yes.
Yeah.
It tells you a little bit about the connector. So Roger is still with us.
Absolutely.
All these years, and he's still watching as you progress and as our competition develops as well for its senior division now. So thanks for sharing that, guys.
In the fall, he was one of the first people who was so excited about us getting into the honors chamber music program at the school. Sahana ran into him in the hallway, and he had said that Natasha had told him how well we played in our audition. So he was like one of the first to congratulate us and Sahana about our audition. So that was very sweet.
Can you describe your rehearsal style as a quartet?
The 4 of us have very distinct personalities when we sit down together.
We sure do. I think we've settled into a very good rhythm. I think we complement each other in a really cosmically perfect way. It's really quite amazing. We have had some, let's say, tight turnarounds in terms of what we need to accomplish in a short amount of time. And I think the best thing about this group is that, I mean, these are some of the most determined people I think I've ever met in my entire life. And when faced with a challenge, their answer is always yes. So I think the openness of all of us, I think is the way that we work and the way that we get stuff done. You know, we are able to make suggestions and work together, and you know, everyone is just so committed to the final product and getting, you know, the best possible thing that we can. And I think the key is that we're all really open to learning from each other, and we all understand that each person has, you know, something unique to bring and something that we can all learn from. And I mean, I am absolutely a better player for working with these three. So
Same for me.
I think that's
us.
really the key.
Yeah.
We also just, for the past couple of weeks, we have been playing Mozart Clarinet Quintet with a friend of ours. And so it's the first time we've had somebody else come in and sit down with us and sort of witness our group dynamic. And he also mentioned a couple of times, we have just a very, like, there are no minced words, but there are also no hurt feelings.
Yeah.
So because all of us just don't take, I think, offense to anything, or we're all open to criticism and open to improving and taking each other's ideas, which I think is an important part of why we work so well together.
We also laugh a lot. Every rehearsal, I mean, literally no matter how stressful a rehearsal is, no matter what we need to get done, we always end up laughing by the end of rehearsal. We never leave in a bad mood. We never, you know, leave mad at each other. We always end up laughing. We also cry a lot together. There are a lot of tears that are spilled for many, many reasons. But I think it's all really part of the process for sure.
So, how did you select your repertoire?
I mean, I think it was a combination of things. The first thing that we played together at the beginning of this year was the Debussy string quartet, which I will be honest, I think I am a little bit of the pushy one in terms of what we want to play. I'm sure that's no surprise to you.
What? Emma?
Me, opinion?
Emma wanting to express her opinion? Okay.
But we all love that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the first thing that we got into together. And then we worked on that like most of the first semester. So we really, you know, got into that piece, and, you know, we prepared it for the first honors recital that we had first semester. And then after that, we started to think about what summer festivals we wanted to apply to together. And looking at some of those requirements, we knew that we needed a classical quartet to go with it. And also, you know, the romantic component, another romantic piece as well. So we read several Haydn and Mozart quartets. I think we all brought a few that we were sort of interested in, and ended up landing on Sunrise, which is one of my favorite Haydn quartets of all time, and was actually the first quartet I ever heard, and it was you playing at the JCC.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember the program.
Yes, I do.
It was the first Haydn quartet I ever heard, and so I've been wanting to really work on it and play it. So we ended up choosing Sunrise, and for a romantic piece, we really wanted to play something that was, you know, not as standard, not as often played, and also to pick a piece written by a female composer. So the obvious choice seemed the Fannie Mendelson quartet.
Somewhere along my educational line here, there is a school of thought that Fannie helped Felix write a lot of his stuff. Do you guys hear the same thing when you're education a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard that there was a lot of passing music back and forth between the two of them, and the lines can get a little bit blurry as to who originated what thought.
Yep.
But when we got together at the beginning of this year, that was one of the first things that we decided on, that we were consciously going to put works that don't get played very often because they're not by European male composers right next to those works, just because they're just as deserving and they're just as good, and they just simply don't get played as often. And it's important to us that they get elevated to that same, you know, concert hall standard, and not just relegated to, you know, concerts of their own where they just sit on the side somewhere, they're just as good, and we really think that they should be put alongside those standard works.
And I mean, that's also part of the reason when we got the opportunity to play a full recital at Alice Tully Hall, we really wanted to put that piece next to Haydn, standing on its own, one of the most famous Haydn quartets of all time that, people know as soon as they hear the first chord. To really have those pieces stand on their own next to each other was
That's
really
great. What's your next piece in that genre? Where are you looking next?
We have a list that is growing by the day of pieces that we want to play. But one thing that we are working on right now is Caroline Shaw's Blueprint. So that we are preparing, and the list goes on and on.
And we'll be playing that on a recital along with Shostakovich's 7th quartet.